how to direct attention neurally. We have seen how to direct attention in terms of psychological behavior. Now let's see in terms of physiological neurons. We can ask, for example, which brain areas are involved in guiding attention. Here is a monkey's brain. Monkeys' brains are often used as models to study human brains. This is a view from this brain's right side. This is the eyeball. This is the front of the brain, the back of the brain. If you unfold and spread out the cortical sheet, you have this unfolded brain. This is a retina for one eye and for the other eye. Visual inputs go from the retina to the primary visual cortex, also called V1. Then V2, V3, V4, etc. And these colored cortical areas are exclusively for visual functions in the brain. Information flows from visual areas to frontal brain areas. Here is FEF for the frontal eye field. Here is SC for superior colliculus. It is involved in directing eye movements. Therefore, we can look at which brain areas are sending inputs to SC. They should be the candidate areas to be involved in guiding attention. We note that V1 sends input to SC, so does the retina. Here is a circuit diagram for connections between brain regions for controlling eye movements. This is the superior colliculus receiving inputs from V1 and from retina into its superficial layers. It sends outputs to control the eye muscles. It also receives inputs from the frontal eye field and from the parietal regions into its deep layers. Frontal eye field could also bypass superior colliculus to directly control eye movements. Inputs to the superior colliculus also come from visual cortices beyond V1. However, in monkeys, V1 is the major source of inputs to the superficial layers of the superior colliculus. We also notice that V1 is massive in its size, much larger than the frontal eye field, so it is likely to play a role in guiding attention. If a V1 neuron is stimulated, an eye movement can be evoked to the receptive field location of this neuron. This is presumably by this route of action. Meanwhile, frontal eye field and the superior colliculus itself also affect attention. For example, if their neurons are stimulated, visual task performance is improved at the corresponding visual field locations. These locations are the movement fields of these stimulated neurons. This is so even if these neural stimulations are not strong enough to evoke eye movements, and it is as if that attention is shifted covertly to the corresponding visual field locations to improve task performance. Since retina also sends signals to the superior colliculus, one can ask if retinal signals alone could drive eye movements. To examine this, one can lesion V1 in monkeys, as done in this study, and we see that V1 is a major pathway to send visual signals to the rest of the visual system, so therefore this lesion should more or less leave the retina as the only or dominant source to drive the superior colliculus to evoke eye movements by visual inputs. However, with V1 destroyed, monkeys cannot make visually guided saccades for weeks. So therefore, at least in monkeys, this retina is normally not involved in guiding attentional shifts. In lower vertebrates, such as fish, which do not have a neocortex that contains V1 and other cortical areas, retinal drive does play a significant or dominant role.